What up, everybody, and welcome back to the Sound of Violence Daily MMA Podcast Recap for March 26th, 2020. I am Pulver. I'm back yet again. Just to talk about what I listened to today. Things are, once again, finally getting more stable over where I'm at. It's been a crazy week. I can't believe it's only Thursday. Good googly moogly. But luckily things are getting stable. I had a relatively normal day, all things considered, which is the first in a while. Aside from, that's right. I like to start this episode by doing an anti-sponsor read. Hey, Cox, eat all of the dicks. Cox decided to nuke my internet in the middle of the night. I thought the account was set up to autopay since we just changed the setup for it. Evidently, it was not set up to autopay, and Cox decided to nuke my internet in the middle of the fucking night, which is great because I work for multiple hospitals in the medical industry, and I got to figure that out in the middle of the fucking night last night. So that was a lot of fun. So fuck you, Cox. Also, just to double down on the irony that Cox is such a fucking trash brand, I have, of course, because if you guys know anything about me, you know there's no way I have a limited data cap on what I'm doing on the internet, because I couldn't function any of the things I do if that was the case. And so they're actually giving a discount back, like a rebate essentially back to people with the unlimited bandwidth, which I have. Which the bandwidth that they're going to give back is in 4 days, which is going to cover part of the bill that I was already going to pay, except they decided to nuke the entire fucking thing in the middle of the night at about 1 a.m. So Cox can eat all the fucking dicks. They are by far one of if not the worst ISPs on the fucking planet. And their business model is absolutely just atrocious and anti-consumer and just fucking money hungry. So fuck Cox, and sorry, I had to start off with that because who the fuck turns off people's internet during a global pandemic? Also, that bill was, I didn't check the date. It can't be more than a couple days late. I'm fucking furious about this shit. But on a lighter note, great day in MMA podcast though. I'll start off by saying I'm drinking Society Brewing Company's The Pupil. It's the last one of the cans I have. Oh, fucking of course that dog is barking right now. Please give me a minute. I'll be right back. This is what I'm talking about with the chaos going on right now. Good news. I got a pack. Here, you guys want to see what my package is? I just got a package from Amazon. We'll open it. Fuck it. But yeah, it's been a good day for MMA podcast overall. I think I know what this is. I would assume I know what this is. Oh man, that's work stuff. That's boring. I thought it was going to be cigars. Not that I'm smoking cigars right now. But it's not. It's boring work stuff. It's printer ink. Anyway, Jesus, where the fuck was I? Other than imaginary punting my dog. Not really, but in theory. Right, I'm drinking Society the Pupil. Last one of the 6-pack that I picked up. Yeah, it's a good beer. I don't know. I don't know. I've only ever had this is the first of the Society's canned stuff I've had, because they just very recently started canning after the head brewer departed, like on semi-amicable terms. It's a kind of interesting story on that one. I forget what brewery he's going to too. I need to look that up again, because they're going to do fucking incredible things. But I mean, yeah, it's still a fucking incredible beer, but yeah, it's still really good. I don't know. I guess just since I've had it from the source only ever, aside from this, it's definitely not quite as bright and as crisp, but still really good. Also, I would assume there's a brew on date on this thing. February 21st, 2020. So we are about a month old. Wow. Since I got that from the brewery, not the best look. Month old for an IPA, especially like the Pupil. It's like right around the range where it starts falling off a bit, but still pretty good. And I have one terrible beer that's I was talking about this being old. I have a fucking, I think it's some kind of IPA, anyway, that's from July. That thing's gonna be terrible. But I do have some cool sours that I get to here in the next couple of days. Also, maybe I'll crack open some Lefroy or something here on some upcoming episodes. But anyway, let's get into the MMA podcast stuff, since you guys are not here to listen to me talk about booze. At least I would assume you're not. So I started off today, I should say, I think I said off top, March 26th. I started off listening to Coffee Talk, which is the MMA fighting podcast hosted by Esther Lynn and Casey Ladden. They had on Greg Jackson. It was actually like a fun, lighthearted interview. Greg Jackson jokes that he's in, what did he call it? Self-quarantine? Social distancing. But I think he said he's self-quarantining, but he keeps joking that he's not allowed to leave the chair he's in, which was pretty good. He also jokes that he's pantsless, which it's been a while since I've heard Greg Jackson in interviews, and I forget how that dude's real quirky and likes like really goofy dad jokes a lot. And yeah, it was a pretty fun one. They talk about New Mexico being a shelter in place right now, and they talk about Jackson Wink being shut down. This was, of course, prior to the John Jones news that broke today, which fucking shocking. Actually, you know what? It is shocking, because I would not have pictured John Jones to be drinking mezcal. I just didn't see it coming. I know you guys are thinking like, "Whoa, what, racist? You definitely thought he was drinking Henny." Like, no, I think John Jones is the kind of dude who would drink like fucking Johnny Walker or just like bottles of Bacardi. I don't know why. It's just the way he drinks, and the fact that he generally tends to party it with or pair it with party favors. Generally, you go with like a light rum or a vodka, or you're going like uppity like scotch, but not of any actual decent quality. Oh, I guess Johnny Walker's fine. Like, I have some Black Label over there. I don't buy it for myself. I don't know. It's fine. It's the most generic blended scotch, I'd say. Even like the nicer ones don't do much for me. Now, if we're talking blended scotches, fucking Monkey Shoulder is a whole. Don't get me started on Monkey Shoulder. But anyway, not a booze show. Let's see. They talk about the dorms being closed. Evidently, Greg Jackson's just playing a lot of Civ 6 and Fallout 3, which I thought was hilarious. I'm going to try to avoid just doing straight recaps, but it's kind of my habit when I get on mic and start talking podcasts, so maybe I'll get a little bit of a flavor of all of it, I have a feeling. The A-Side Live Chat from March 25th. The A-Side Live Chat has moved to 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which is pretty cool. On Monday, as we discussed, they had Anthony Smith and Mackenzie Dern on, and then on Wednesday, Pizzi is back since he wasn't recording Eurobash, and it was him and Jose Youngs and Casey, or EKC. And since Alima Lay McFarland was supposed to be on, but she couldn't make it work. And yeah, it was a pretty good episode. I liked it overall. It didn't like stand out as one of the better ones this week necessarily, but very solid episode. Some fun stuff they talked about, and yeah, it was pretty good. The WHOAcast, Yo What You Owe, was real good. That's Mike, Gina, or G. And then I think they had Kairos on, which poor Kairos this week talked about the positive things about people he talks shit about, specifically Khabib Nurmagomedov and John Jones. This was again prior to John Jones fucking up this week. So poor Kairos goes out and says a bunch of positive things about John Jones, since people call him a John Jones hater, and then John Jones goes and does John Jones things. So I thought that was funny. They talked to Lerone Murphy, who's supposed to fight on the London card, and who was the other person that was on? Interesting hearing his thoughts on that. And then they had Chisanga did his segment on whether or not 249 should go on. One of my favorite episodes from this week as well. There's been so much good content, especially when it comes, like I talked about yesterday. A lot of the stuff I'm really excited about is everybody going back and talking about old cards. I love that fucking content anyway. It's just, I find it fascinating. There's so many good old fights that I feel like no new fans know about, and I feel like there's an exceptional number of new fans in the sport, especially after the Ronda era. Like, I feel like a lot of the people on Twitter right now are fans from Ronda forward, or like tough fans. Like, I'll go and be the first to say I'm a tough noob, but I also went back and did my homework after tough because I found that shit fascinating. And so I've seen fucking, I don't know, I've at least seen every UFC card and every Pride card. A lot of WEC, a lot of Strikeforce. Less Strikeforce than WEC. I saw a lot of later era Strikeforce. The early era Strikeforce is like just now starting to be available on Fight Pass and stuff like that. For a long time, it was hard to track down. A lot of early era Bellator stuff is what I also cut my teeth on. All the old fucking Spanish, like the Spanish broadcast that ESPN Deportes broadcast for Bellator back in the day, with like fucking Toby Amata hitting fucking reverse triangles and Joe Warren and Ben Askren fighting in like fucking casino halls at the Hard Rock in Florida and shit. Let's see. So, Anyway, back to the podcast. Coast to Coast Combat Hour, Quarantine Combat Hour is the name of the episode, which was from Tuesday, March 24th, since I'm trying to start dating these, just because otherwise everything's changing so rapidly. It makes people sound super fucking ignorant if you quote them from a podcast from Monday when we do our show on Friday or Saturday, because they sound like assholes, because they're like, oh, well, like a lot, especially last week, it was real bad, where a lot of people were like, this fucking Corona thing's gonna blow over. You're like, dog, this does not age well 7 days later. Anyway, it was a really good episode with Matt and Ed. They talk about some of the fights that got him into MMA, like the old school Vale Tudo tournament championships back in the day of like Marco Huas and Steve Jenham, UFC 53, the Pride Openweight tournament, stuff like that, the old IVC cards in Brazil. And yeah, just a really good episode. Those are two dudes who know a ton about the beginning of the sport. I mean, shit, Matt and Ed were going to a lot, especially Matt was going to a lot of those shows way, way back in the day. And yeah, just a really good one overall. I really enjoy it. Co-main event live chat for March 25th was pretty solid. Not a ton. It's kind of all over the place. Speaking of the co-main event podcast, I should say The Athletic they've all been tweeting out how they're watching old MMA movies, and I am so fucking glad that Fernando Praches is on my goddamn side, that Fight Valley is one of the greatest movies of all time. Everybody is, I've been saying this, you guys know this, I've been saying this for fucking years now. I've been saying this for like 3 years probably, at least 2 years, I think closer to 3 when we first did that commentary. I fucking genuinely love Fight Valley so much. It's everything. It's just so fucking fun, and it's so funny hearing Fernanda basically go through that movie and have the same reactions I had, where it's like, holy shit, these edit points, some of these plot twists. She points out how everyone has the darkest eyeliner of all time. It's just, as Jordan Breen would say, kiss the fucking fingers good. And, oh my god, it's amazing. Let's see. MMA Roasted has been killing it this week. So MMA Roasted nowadays is Adam Hunter and Mayhem Miller on every episode. And Mayhem is very sober and hilarious. Like old school Mayhem. Like he's back to the funny, clever dude who's like just making goofy jokes and having a good time, and like will definitely throw jabs here and there, but it's just like a fun guy to hear and fun guy to be around. And it's really fucking interesting. I've been loving these episodes, and they're going daily right now. So I listened to episode 489 and 490, which I believe were from, I want to say Tuesday and Wednesday, or maybe Monday and Tuesday. But anyway, episode 489, they had Preacher Lawson, the comedian, on, who's a friend of Adam's. He was on for a bit. Pretty interesting dude. Definitely knows a bit about MMA and definitely follows the sport a decent amount. I mean, he's talking about like dudes like Justin Gaethje being a good test for Habib and stuff like that. Like, he knows what he's talking about. Let's see. And then Bisbing calls in from his half mansion. And it's very cool hearing Bisbing and Mayhem go back and forth. Of course, they're just shitting on Adam a lot of the time for being an instigator, which is always funny. Also, Mayhem tells maybe the craziest story I've ever heard about recording a podcast. No, let me clarify that. Definitely the craziest story I've ever heard about someone recording a podcast. All I'll say is it involves a bottle of rum, a B&E, and a stabbing. And that's not even... It really is underselling just saying that. So, holy shit, this story. Also, Phil Baroni calls in towards the end from Albuquerque, shirtless, popping his pecs, fucking juiced to the gills. He talks about taking fights in Thailand. It's insane. This is an insane episode, and you probably need to listen to it. It's going to come up during the podcast this week, I guarantee you. Holy shit, it's crazy. MMA Roasted episode 489. Episode 490 was also really good. They had Jessica I call in, which you guys know, I'm a big Jessica I fan. I think everybody gives her a lot of shit because no one listens to her on podcasts. They hear like short clips or they see her tweets, which is like the worst way to listen to Jessica I. Well, especially as Sir Nigel on our intro. Well, actually, wait, it's not our intro for this show. On our normal intro, Sir Nigel is obviously a big Jessica I on Twitter fan on the Co-Main Event podcast. But yeah, no, Jessica I is really interesting, and she has a lot of crazy stories. So it's cool hearing her on there. And then Rashad Evans also calls in, and yeah, I liked episode 490 as well. But holy shit, episode 49 was wild as hell. And then lastly, today I was, just as I started to record this, I started listening to Way After the Bell, which is TJ DeSantis' Between Rounds show that he's doing currently, where he goes back with, previously it's Nick Albert. This episode was Rob Tatum, and they went back and are watching WC 44. It's basically a fight companion, but he's also, since it's only for patrons on his Between Rounds Patreon, he's also playing the audio of the cards during it. And it's really fun. It's a really fun like fight companion style setup, and I can't recommend it highly enough. It's spoiler alert. It's absolutely going to be at least a catch for me this week. Is the stuff TJ is doing, because it's really, really good and really interesting. So yeah, that's the stuff I listen to. Oh, also It's the Real, because I do that every day. Because it's the Real quarantine radio stuff is the only way to start your day. As far as I'm concerned, it'll just make you feel better. I was very sleep deprived this morning. Shouts out to Cox, you fucking idiots. And yeah, it was just a great way to start the day. So big shouts to them. And then what I have queued up right now, this is in a semi-order of what I'm going to listen to stuff. But of course, throughout the day, I end up adding a ton more. But right now, I have queued up Man in the Myth, their fight flashback for UFC 189, where they go back and take a look at that card. Heavy Hands, episode 309, with guest... it's not Ben Duffy, is it? Danny Martin. Danny Martin's on 309. I knew it wasn't Ben Duffy, but I just talked about TJ DeSantis. I couldn't not say Ben Duffy. Yeah, so Danny Martin's on that one, which I'm excited about. Protect Your Neck, episode 176. Dan Tom did his second live chat episode that I'm excited to hear. Submission Radio, episode 204, which has Francis Ngannou, Sean O'Malley, and who is the other person? Brett Okamoto. So that seems like it'll be a fun one. Curious to see them talk to Francis Ngannou about him being the only corona-tested UFC fighter somehow. And also, holy shit, is the UFC super high on Francis Ngannou? They're like, please don't give Francis Ngannou the COVIDs. I assume that's the conversation Dana White had with, I don't know who, fucking Chad or whatever white dude name is at the PI. It's not Chad. I forget the dude that everybody references. This name starts with the C. I want to say Chance, but that's also wrong. Chase, that's also wrong. It's something along those lines. Let's see. Loudmouth MMA. They did their show, or sorry, Loudmouth MMA did their show MMA yesterday for UFC 40, which is their recap show. So I'm excited to hear that, especially since, as I talked about yesterday, the Bloody Elbows, Bloody Elbow presents the fuck kind of, I know Retro isn't, 6th Round Retro also did UFC 40. So I'm curious to hear Loudmouth's take on it, and I think that's kind of cool. They both ended up doing the same event. I'm sure it's coincidence, but kind of makes it cool for listeners because they get to kind of see two different takes on the same event and what some people notice versus others. It's pretty cool. And then, holy shit, I am extremely excited for, and I did not get to it today because I want to give it I want to give it full attention when I listen to it. But The Writer and the Fighter episode 62, which is hosted by Jake Smith and David Golden, is now on video, which I'm super excited about. And Jake Smith just accepted a fight at Submission Underground this weekend on Sunday. Or not a fight, but a jiu-jitsu match. Since he clarified he tried to make it combat jiu-jitsu, and they were like, nah, dog. Which, if you guys don't know, they didn't. I haven't listened to the episode. I'm assuming it couldn't be made a combat jiu-jitsu match because for combat jiu-jitsu, Eddie Bravo and I believe most places that do that, you have to go through the commission since strikes are involved. So you actually have to get approval from the commission and go through all that, which I'm sure commissions are not approving fucking any kind of combat right now. Even in Oregon where things are pretty fucking wild. So definitely will be interesting to see how that plays out. I believe, I know actually for a fact Chris Sunshine Williams also just signed to that card. I'm guessing Jake has taken over for Carlos Condit's spot, since I just heard Carlos Condit didn't want to travel during all the outbreak stuff. And since Jake is like good buddies with Chael, I'm assuming that's how that went down. Let's see, UFC Unfiltered, episode 379 has Chael and Dean on, which I'm excited to hear about. I mean, anytime you get Dean Thomas and Matt Serra talking, I'm assuming Matt Serra's on that episode. I should look that up, because I'm not going to listen to it if he's not. Because if it's fucking Phoenix Carnival. Okay, yeah. Jim and Matt are both on. Yeah, I just outed myself for a while, wouldn't listen. I'll go ahead and say if Jamie English was on, I would still listen to it. But if there was some other hosts on, maybe not so much. MMA Depressed Us. They did Prospect Bus Volume 2, which has Gray Maynard and Roger Huerta as the main fight for that. I'm super excited for that. I would say, this is a shitty thing to say, but arguably my favorite part about the quarantine, aside from quarantine radio, is MMA Depressed Us is on every week now. So that's a weird, sad, fucking upbeat. I don't know. Maybe I like sadness. Maybe that's the realization we're coming to. And then lastly, I still have Punch Drunk Sports Quarantine Edition on my list. I don't know if I'm going to get to it for the podcast. I'd like to, but it's super low priority, to be honest. Because I know Ari's just going to say horrible, horrible shit. I believe they call him Wuhan Ari at some point during this episode, which is a bad sign. And he is in New York, which I'm sure is going to be interesting. So, but yeah, that's what I got. Other than that, I've been listening to JRE 1446 with Bert Kreischer, and then he just dropped 1447 with Tom Segura, 1448 with Joey Diaz. So that's kind of in my queue for like the evenings and whatnot. But yeah, man, it's been a fucking, honestly and surprisingly, it's been a very, very good and fun week for MMA podcasts. And I don't know, maybe it's just because I go out of my way to listen to podcasts that are doing creative shit generally. So when they're given an opportunity to really expand their creativity, they jump on it. But I've been very happy with this has been one of the better weeks in MMA podcasts of all time, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm excited for all of that. Also, of course, Luke Thomas's live chat right now is a must listen every week. Also, Trent Reinsmith's Come On Now. I've been listening to it. I haven't been taking a lot of notes because a lot of the stuff is just like day-to-day coverage since he does it daily. But if you're not subscribed to Come On Now, Trent Reinsmith's podcast, I definitely recommend it because he's having hard conversations about the sport, similar to Luke Thomas, and it's good hearing people do that. Pete Carroll, another guy who's having very hard conversations about the sport. Sean Sheehan, hard conversations about the sport. And I think those are the people that are most interesting right now because those conversations need to be had. And times like this, I wish we still had, well, actually, because I know Fernando Proches would be putting out the most fire fucking content right now. And then tie in some sweet, Clueless references and some fucking over my head TV show references and shit. So, yeah, it's been a fun week, and I cannot wait for tomorrow, honestly. Keep it rolling. So, I guess on that note, we're going to go ahead and wrap it. Everybody go support your local brewery. For me, Society out here in San Diego has been what I've been drinking since I just went through that. I'm going to try and support either New English next and or Burning Beard, which is right down the street from me. And yeah, man, pretty excited about it. Maybe you know what? I should try. I wonder if Latchkey Brewing. So a lot of breweries down here. Oh, you know what? Let me pull up one other thing while I'm talking. But a lot of breweries down here are starting to do delivery, which I mentioned briefly last week. But the other show that I forgot to mention, which I retweeted, let me look for it, is there are some guys in San Diego who do a brewery podcast. Oh no, where is it? I don't know where it went. Didn't I retweet that fucking pod? Oh, there it is. Beer Night in San Diego. If you look up 3B Zine, so THREE, the letter B, Zine. They do a great podcast about local San Diego beer, and what's really cool is they did a podcast, I believe, on the 25th. I have not listened to it yet, but they sent out a tweet saying they essentially utilize a lot of the new online like ordering and delivery options from a bunch of local breweries down here in San Diego, and that's awesome. Maybe I'll do something like that too. Maybe I'll put in a couple orders for a couple of breweries around here, since a lot of them are switching to online orders, which is pretty cool. Fucking took you long enough, California, to where you can actually get it delivered like right to you. So I'm excited to see how that goes, and I'm excited to see what they have to say about this stuff. I believe, if I remember right, they did Lost Abbey, I want to say Alesmith, and somebody else. Pariah, Lost Abbey, and Resident were the three, I believe. I'm just going off the tweet they sent. I'm not positive, so I'm definitely excited for that. You know what? I'll give their actual episode a retweet as well. So if you look on Twitter at TSOVPod, you'll be able to see it there. But I guess on that note, we'll go ahead and wrap this. But I will be back tomorrow to give a brief recap. I have not talked to Chris yet. I'm guessing recording Saturday probably at some point. But it's kind of up in the air. So until tomorrow, everybody, go support your local breweries. Go do something decadent. We out. Bye.